Hey folks, and welcome to Truck King. For 2024, Ford claims that their Super Duty has more than ever. More power, more towing, more luxury and comfort, and more off-road capability. Now the truck we're looking at right here is an all-new King Ranch, and we're gonna put a trailer on the back, work this truck hard, and see how it handles. Let's start with the walk around. So, powering our F-250 King Ranch today is the 6.7 liter V8 turbo diesel. Now, this is not the high output model. So, this engine right here makes 475 horsepower, 1,050 pound-feet of torque, although you can step up to that HO. That thing's making 500 horsepower and 1,200 pound-feet, so we really are in the realm of crazy numbers. I'll throw one other crazy number at you. That's the price. To go for this diesel as it sits here, this is a $10,000 option, and then if you do want to go even further for the HO, well, that's a $13,000 option here in Canada. So if you want those big power numbers, you're going to pay for them. As I mentioned, this is the F-250 King Ranch. This thing is actually two trims down from sort of the pinnacle of the F-250 lineup, but this is still definitely one of the luxury trucks in the lineup, and you can tell you get this really nice chrome grille. Each grille is a little bit unique, so King Ranch, you are going to get some different styling up front. For 2024, the whole front end is revised. Not a massive change to the styling, but a pretty nice update. I think it's a handsome truck. Why don't you drop in the comments right now and let me know what you think of the styling here on this F-250. As we roll down the side of the truck, you're going to see a nice set of 20-inch bright wheels here. Again, that's part of the King Ranch package. And one other thing I want to point out, on the Super Duty, to the best of my knowledge, it's the only truck where you can actually still get out and manually lock your hubs. Now, there's two settings here. You have lock or auto. So if you leave it in auto, those hubs will lock automatically when you go into four-wheel drive. But if you do want to leave them locked at all times, I'm not sure why you would, but if you do, you can do that on a Super Duty. And it's just interesting that Ford leaves those there as an option. The vast majority of trucks these days all just have auto-locking hubs. In fact, they never even mention it. But yeah, Ford gives you that control. So again, rolling back, we get the standard tow mirrors here on this truck, which are nice. And we also get a set of powered running boards. Those come along with the King Ranch package. Now, even further back, there's another step that's been added to the Super Duty here for 2024. This is a bed access step, so I can actually get up, get in there, and get to things in my bed. And honestly, this is necessary. Look how tall this truck is on me. It is chest height. I actually can't reach the floor just trying to reach in. So yes, the more access steps we have these days, the better. Another feature which I have to mention, because you rarely see it here on the channel, an 8-foot bed. This truck has an honest to goodness 8-foot bed. It has a wheelbase of 176 inches, a monster wheelbase. And frankly, the manufacturers usually just don't order these for us to test. So it's nice that Ford got us the 8-foot bed. It'll be exciting to put the trailer on and really feel how that long wheelbase affects the towing. So we get to the very back. You can see those bumper steps, which is a little bit of a nod to General Motors, but I love that Ford incorporated those here as well. We do have power tailgate, both up and down. And then another really fun feature, this is unique to Ford, right down here in the tailgate, there's a camera. When you drop this tailgate, you don't lose your backup camera functionality. That's a pretty cool feature too, especially if you're hooking up a fifth wheel trailer, because you have to back in with your tailgate down. So it gives you that kind of depth of field so you understand how close you are to the trailer. Smart features here from Ford. So this is a classic Ford feature, bed step. Still here, still easy to use, really does help you climb up, and access your bed. And geez, it's so nice to have an 8-foot bed. Look at all this space. Now the last feature I have to show you is right over here. To its Super Duty trucks, Ford has added Pro Power on board. That is 2 kilowatts of power, which is available to you back here in your bed or from a plug in the cabin. 2 kilowatts is a lot of power. And again, let's face it, Super Duty spend a lot of their time working at job sites, and that's where this feature will really be helpful. So now we can back into our trailer and I can show you the camera system. So here's the first view, the rear and the top down. If you hit this plus over here, you can actually zoom in on specific parts of the truck. So if you just want to see what's right at one rear corner, you can do that, and you get the predictive line for where your tire is going to go. That's cool. Now the rest of the views are all up in here. You got your bed view there, especially handy for hooking up a fifth wheel or a gooseneck. There's your just rear view. There's your hitch down view. There's your wide rear view. This is for your camera that you can put on the back of your trailer if you want to do that. And then this is the trailer reverse guidance system. You actually have to calibrate it, but this would actually help you back into your trailer if you had that all set up as well. Now there's one cool trick. We go into the rear view here, and I can use my power tailgate button, and you'll be able to see that tailgate camera in action. So you see it automatically switches over there, and now I can see how close I am to that trailer directly behind my truck, even though the tailgate's open. That's a cool feature. Now I do have to go back and park to make my powered tailgate work, but now I can hit the button, up it goes, and I retain my regular view, and then of course I can use my hitch down view to actually hook up to this trailer. That's a cool feature. You know what? It's nice to have all these camera views these days, and even better to make sure that they're always accessible regardless of what you're doing. And hopefully my height is set up okay. Bam. And there we go. We're about to hook up, and this is a great chance to show off the onboard scales feature. As it suggests, this truck is going to weigh how much payload it has on it. Now, it has a very depressing payload rating of 1,819 pounds, and you can see with just me, cameraman Liam, and a little bit of gear in the back, we're at least a quarter, even approaching half of that payload rating. What I'm going to do right now is we're going to jump out, hook up the trailer, and then we'll come straight back up here to see how much tongue weight is being put on the truck. And that's sort of really the usefulness of onboard scales, is to understand how close to that payload rating you are, because you'll notice it doesn't offer you a number. It doesn't actually say, hey, your payload weighs 600 pounds. It just gives you this green bar to give you an overall sense. So let's go hook up right now. So this trailer is going to be 10,000 pounds. As it sits right here right now, it's about 7,000 pounds, which means I would expect roughly 700 pounds of tongue weight to be transferred to the truck. Now again, based on what we saw in this 700 pounds, we might be close to payload, but let's go ahead and find out. Okay, there, the weight is fully off the foot, so the weight of the trailer is now fully on the truck. Let's go see what changed. And there you have it, folks. Like I mentioned, so this, of course, still includes my weight and cameraman Liam's weight. But there you go. We are nearly at payload with just that trailer on the back. And that aside, I do love onboard scales. I truly believe a lot of people don't understand how much payload they put on their pickup trucks. So it's nice to have sort of a visual gauge to remind you of how much weight you should be rolling down the road with.
So the leaves are falling. And if you're from Canada, what that means is that the snow will soon be here. And at this time of year, we try to do inventory on everything we got and make sure everything's going to continue to work through the winter. And frankly, a lot of our equipment does hibernate. We don't run the backhoe in the winter. I don't run the bulldozer in the winter. But this little tractor is going to be hooked up to the big snow thrower. And so it needs to run, and it has glow plugs. The reason I'm telling you that is because the battery that's in it has been working fine in warm weather. But we're talking about having to run the glow plugs for a minute, 2 minutes. They suck a lot of juice up at -20. And I don't want to take a chance, so yeah, Canadian Tire, new Motomaster battery, and we're just going to throw that in here right now. Of course, Motomaster carries a full line of batteries up there at Canadian Tire, but I was particularly looking for something with good cranking amps, and this one is rated at 800, but it will give me 650 at, what does it say on here? Minus 18 degrees Celsius, so that's no bad, and that's exactly what I want, because I've been here in January and poor tractor's just going wah. Wah. That's a bad sound when you need it to go. Ready for winter.
And now, folks, here we are on the road in the F-250 King Ranch with the 10,000-pound trailer on the back. So I think the first thing we have to talk about, Dad, is just all the numbers surrounding this truck as it sits. So first of all, you're asking, well, what's the tow rating? And I do have to say, as F-250s go, this is basically the lowest possible tow rating you can get just because of the spec of this truck. This truck has 331 rear gears. That is the most fuel-conscious rear gear and the least powerful rear gear you can get in a Super Duty. We also have 4x4, and we have the long wheelbase with the 8-foot bed. All of that comes together to give us a 15,500 pound conventional tow rating. So only 15.5 off the hitch back there. We're not far off of max towing, which just feels really low for an F-250,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. And to your point, I just want to throw this in here right now. Ford probably gives you more ways to build a truck than anybody else. All right, you can spec so many different parts and you can put it together, and the numbers are all going to be different. So when we're talking about this truck, we're not talking about every F-250. We're talking about this particular one and the way it's built, which I would never build. However, it's the one we got, so that's what we're going to test. Carry on.
Precisely. So we can move on to fifth wheel and gooseneck for this F-250. Again, as it sits right here, your fifth wheel rating is 12,100 pounds. Gooseneck is 13,200 pounds. Fairly low numbers, but all of those tow numbers are kind of hinged around the payload number. And the payload number on this truck, 1,819 pounds, which once again, for a 3/4 ton truck, feels very low. Because yeah, with our 10,000 pound trailer on the back here today, and then the three of us in the cab with a little bit of gear, barely anything, we are over payload. Yep. As we are right now. So if you were to put a bigger fifth wheel, a heavier conventional trailer, yeah, you're almost definitely going to go over that payload number. Now, to your point, Dad, there is a max payload package that could have been added to this truck. The rear gears could have been changed. You could make it tow and haul more, but as we have it, yeah, the payload number is really low. And one of the most important parts there is the 9,900 pound GVWR package. That's the other thing we have here. This truck has a gross vehicle weight rating of 9,900 pounds, and 10,000 is the number that's important. Over 10,000 GVWR, there's more paperwork involved. It's classified as a commercial vehicle, or can be, rather than under 10,000 when nobody bats an eye. That's just a regular consumer truck. So a lot of brands want to keep it under 10, and that's another reason why this build, as it sits, is just kind of weak when it comes to the ratings.
The GVWR today is also something that you can spec.
Correct.
And it makes sense from the point of view that under 10,000, it costs you less to license. It may even cost you less to insure. and there is less in the way of safety inspection stuff. And of course, every jurisdiction is different, so you've got that kind of monkey on your back to deal with. Now, on the other hand, the very same truck can also be registered, usually 2,000 to 3,000 pounds higher. And it begs the question: is the truck actually different?
Yeah.
Or it's just how they register it?
Sure. And I can't answer that question directly. However, the way we can answer that question is by just talking about how the truck actually feels. Because while the numbers might not back up, how much towing we're doing today, the powertrain numbers are unbelievable, right? We have over 1,000 pound-feet of torque, nearly 500 horsepower. So that's really what it's going to come down to: is how does it actually feel while it's towing?
Well, and that's the thing. When we did 0 to 60, it pulls. It pulls like a drunken mule. It's you just know that this powertrain with the 10-speed transmission with this power stroke could certainly handle 20,000 if the rest of the truck was rated for it.
Exactly. And even from the passenger seat, yeah, the power feels immediate. It comes on super low in the power band, and then when you put your foot into it, yeah, it just pulls right through first, second, third gear. It's still pulling strong. So power is not an issue. Again, it's just about all the other stuff and how you dress it up. So the other big factor with towing too is the wheelbase. And again, more wheelbase equals a more stable towing experience. So it's probably not even really a great question, Dad, but you need to answer it, which is, how does the truck feel dynamically with this trailer? And I can tell you from the passenger seat, I can kind of barely feel it back there.
Yeah, no, I agree exactly. And long and low is what you want. Look at any tractor trailer on the highway, long and low center of gravity, long wheelbase, spreads the load, gets everything closer to the ground. And yeah, this longer wheelbase, I mean, there is a marked difference. So hence the reason I spec my new truck with the long wheelbase.
Exactly. So you guys have seen a lot of the cameras. This is one that I really love. When you signal to the left or to the right, you get the view down the side of the truck. We're making a U-turn right now. You can really track those trailer wheels, right, Dad? You can see exactly where your trailer is, whether you're going to clip that curb or not, or in that case, whether you're going to make the full circle. It's nice to have all the camera views, but that one especially because it happens while you're in motion, actually driving. And that's not unique to Ford. Other brands do that too, but that's a really smart use of those cameras.
I also want to say it because it's top of mind right now, but we do have a head-up display. They've been around for a while, but it's the first time, I believe, this year in Super Duty. And I mean, I love them.
It's a no-brainer. It just makes so much sense. And you were commenting earlier, what I like is that the information changes based on your drive mode. So you can go into tow haul mode and you get your gear selection and your RPM. You go to off-road mode and suddenly you get an inclinometer. So the info actually is tailored to the drive mode too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and then past that, the other thing that you get, which you should pay attention to, is it knows what the speed limit is of where you are. So it's always up on that screen so that you really don't have an excuse when you're speeding.
Another updated towing system for 2024 is the exhaust brake. So Ram and the Cummins, they came out with that auto setting. GM and Ford both just had on and off. Well, Ford has now also come out with an automatic exhaust brake setting. The idea is that if you lift off your throttle, you can coast, and then the exhaust brake won't actually come on until you touch the actual brake pedal. It's funny, I call it an exhaust brake, they call it an engine brake, whichever one you want to call it. But Dad, what do you think about how aggressive it is? Because again, you have a lot of experience in your 2019 Ram with the Cummins and the exhaust brake, so how does this measure up to that one?
Well, I've driven all three, Ford, GM, and the Ram, of course. And the Ram is still the most aggressive.
Yeah, you really feel it.
The other two are okay. They're there. They're doing the job. But when the exhaust brake comes on the Cummins, you know you've got it working.
Yeah, fair enough. And of course, towing up and down big hills, that's when it's really coming in handy. Okay, folks, here comes our 0 to 62 miles per hour or 0 to 100 kilometer test here in the Super Duty. We're going classic with the stopwatch today. All right, Dad, on go. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, 75, 80, 90, 100. Alrighty. So on the stopwatch, that's a 14.3 0 to 100. And a reminder, that is with 10,000 pounds on the back of this truck, which, yeah, with that weight on, feels like a decent time. All right, folks, and now we need a benchmark. So now we're gonna do 0 to 100 here in Dad's 2019 Ram 2500. And
Cummins.
with the Cummins. Ready, on, go. 3, 2, 1, go. It just laid a bunch of rubber. Oh!
That actually will hurt us.
Yeah, it will, but let's see. It's feeling okay. 80, 90, 100. So that clocked us on the old stopwatch at 16.9 seconds. But Dad's right, he laid some real rubber off the line. We might have to try one more time, and you might have to feather it a little bit.
Yeah, well, either that or drop it into 4 high.
All right, back at the start line. We're trying this one more time to see if we can get less slip off the line, because those rear tires really slip. So Dad's gonna feather it a little bit more this time. Ready? On, go. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, bit of slip. Not bad though. We're using the stopwatch. 80, 90, 100. And that one actually came in a slight bit slower at just over 17 seconds.
Yeah, well, I tried to go off slower,
But that was it. You
but
were
I
trying
still
to
got
feather
the
it.
slip, so actually I was better off with the slip.
And then I think the larger point that I was kind of, curious to feel is, so 850 pound-feet here, 1,050 over there. What do 200 pound-feet of torque, what does that really translate to in the real world? And I think we just figured out it's, well, roughly 2 seconds when you run into highway speeds. So if that, oh, big turkeys.
A lot of turkeys.
But yeah, the point is, if that 2 seconds matters to you, then great, you have a quicker option. If you want to get the high output, you can get that too. But yeah, it is to say that we're in a realm of insane torque numbers from all the manufacturers. So even if you go for the quote unquote less powerful option like this Ram, I don't think anyone would be disappointed these days. These diesels are just so good. So you've heard a lot about how the truck actually works, but we should talk about this interior too, Dad. This is the King Ranch. This, of course, is still kind of the Western-themed truck in the Ford lineup. It's funny, when King Ranch first launched, it was the top trim, and since then they've added Platinum and Limited sort of above King Ranch.
Yeah.
But to me, it's not even necessarily above. It's just a different feel. Those trucks are more like tuxedo luxury, and this is cowboy luxury.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you can't look at King Ranch and say, well, it's 2 trims down. It's just, like you said, it's the cowboy version.
Yep. And
Which I like, actually.
I do too. I think the leather is really nice. It's comfortable. The seats are really plush feeling. And then, like we talk about in a lot of trucks these days, it's the little details. It's this unique stitching right here along the dash. It's the engraved Alamo right in front of me here, which of course is a nice callback for any of the Texans out there.
Well, the branding right here, this is apparently the brand for the King Ranch.
For the actual King Ranch.
That sort of stuff. It's fun, right? And it's attractive, to say the least.
Yeah, I will agree with you there. I think it's a nice looking interior, functional. I do like these cup holders down here, Dad, because you can either have 2 cup holders or 4 cup holders by just sliding that over.
Ooh.
That's sort of a fun feature. And
One for my coffee, one for my beer.
we know how important cup holders are these days. So yeah, beautiful interior, but I think you have to follow up beautiful interior with how much does it cost. So here in Canada, the King Ranch F-250 starts at $101,000, as we have it spec'd here today with the diesel and the 8-foot bed, a couple of options like this massive moonroof above our heads. We're talking about an MSRP of $116,000 Canadian.
Okay.
Which, here's the tough thing for me. These days, that doesn't sound too insane. That is pretty much par for the course when it comes to HD luxury trucks. However, I couldn't pull the trigger on a $116,000 truck that tows 15,000 pounds. that has 1,800 pounds of payload. I know we're coming back to this again, but just this spec, I can't believe it. It's so not hard working for the amount of money you're going to spend. It feels like the Monday to Friday special that you're just going to commute in and never put a trailer behind.
Yeah, but I don't get that. Who buys this truck if they're not going to work with it? I mean, that to me just seems bizarre.
I absolutely agree. So I won't come right out and say, wow, it's crazy expensive. It's crazy expensive for the amount of capability you're getting.
Okay, however, we do have to mention, because I don't know why you would spend your money, the government buys my trucks.
Oh, of course.
Oh, we're Canadian. You know, healthcare is paid for and they buy us a truck. I mean, isn't that the way it works?
Maybe where you come from.
I'm old. They buy me trucks. I love it.
Well, folks, we are coming to the end of this video. Now, I have to tell you, after towing with this truck, truly a lot of the upgrades made for 2024 just feel like overkill when it comes to hard work. But overkill equals confidence, and that's exactly what you want out of your heavy-duty pickup. Now, I will quickly say, I don't love how this truck was put together. The numbers just don't really make sense, but that's just this spec right here. Overall, for 2024, the Super Duty offers more of everything, and that is a good thing. Now, of course, though, I need to hear from you, so go into the comments, let me know what you think of the 2024 Super Duty and this King Ranch you saw in our video. As always, while you are down below, don't forget to leave me that comment, but then hit like, hit subscribe, hit the join button to become a member of Truck King, and then come right back here to the channel to see what we're testing next.